3.
Good afternoon, everybody. Time is now 4:30. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Roll call, Tina here, Joanne,
Here.
Danielle,
Here.
Nicole,
Here.
Victor.
Here.
Please stand and join us in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, for approval of agenda, I'll make a motion to approve today's agenda, seeking a second.
I'll second.
All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Motion carries 5-0. Approval of consent items. You all had the opportunity to get your questions answered regarding the consent items. I'll make a motion to approve today's consent items, seeking a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Any nays? Danielle, was that who
That was
seconded?
That was
Danielle?
me.
Okay. All right, moving on to the annual nursing service report. Where do you want it? I just. Yep, that's perfect.
There. You can roll over if you want to be on. That's up to you.
Sorry.
You do have to sing a song.
Yeah.
Yes, song and dance.
I did bring some documents that I put together today. Michelle and I had a small meeting today, and it was a little bit more than what I had already prepared. So I tried to put a few things together just so we had a few things to review today, so you guys had some time to think about it, and then I can kind of put more of a formal thing together for everybody. But if Tony, if you can share this document, the infographic one. This is one that I put together at the end of the school year just to kind of give you guys an idea of what our school year looked like in the nurse's office. Sorry, I sent him a bunch of things, so there will be might be a speed up.
I'm so sorry.
So for the end of the year with a total of 6,081 office visits.
Woohoo.
So it was right on par with last year. We have about 12 students that get daily medications every day. So that's every lunch period. They're coming in. We only have 2 in the morning. So we have morning and afternoon meds every day. That gave us a grand total of 2,227 beds given for the year. And that's not counting anybody that comes in for Tylenol or ibuprofen or things like that. So that would probably quadruple that number, I'm sure. I did a lot of vision screenings this year, hearing screenings, plus all of the IEP students. So not only our kindergarten first and third, and then kindergarten first and fifth, I think, for vision. We ended up getting 4 kids glasses this year that needed vouchers. So that was pretty cool that all came together. You don't always get to see it happen. So it's kind of fun to see that. Health plans, we had 64 students this year with health plans. So that will also include emergency plans. So our asthmatic students, seizures, diabetics, things like that. We had 22 students with asthma, 6 students with seizures. We had 2 peds this year, 2 type 1 diabetics, and 1 type 2 diabetic that were all insulin dependent. And then 21 kids with anaphylactic allergies. So that was a lot. And a lot of them were concentrated in kindergarten.
Wow.
So Mrs. Jadzik really put in her work this year. A lot of kids with the anaphylactic. And one of those students we did have to call a rescue for. So it speaks to really that need of having epinephrine in the schools. And he had his own booklet, so we didn't have to stop, but it's there if we need it. Let's see, we can kind of break down the visits. It looks like return to class out of those 6,081 is 5,238. So that kind of lets you know how needed a lot of those visits are. Called home to parents, 1,361. Sent home, only 470 of that 6,000. 28 counselor referrals. I'm sure that it's a lot more than that, but that's one of those things sometimes we miss to record that we do that. We do work very closely with the counselors for sure. We had 199 hurt or lost teeth this year, 861 stomach aches, 788 headaches, 405 sore throats, and 461 Hirsch, which I'm sure that's way, way, way more than that. And 2,100 ice packs given for the year. So if all else fails, an ice pack will make the day, you know? So thankfully our ice machine's going strong. Vaccination reports, we were 100% compliant this year. So we were able to get in all of our information. That also includes families that sign roofers. So that's the first time we've been 100% compliant in a really long time. So that's a good number to hit. Staff training. We'll be coming around again for staff training. So I do them every year, usually in our welcome back week that we do. Kind of just have everybody together. So kind of do a mass training with some hands-on things. And then with the educational assistants that are working with kids with higher needs, we do one separate from that so that they can get more hands-on and more specific learning to those specific students. I do that also with teachers that might have a student with higher needs, like our type 1 diabetics, things like that, just so that they get that not higher, but more education specifically geared towards that student. Let's see, we did 3 puberty talks this year. That's always a good time. 2 calls to 911 this year. So that was lower than last year, which is good. And then this year we incorporated having stock albuterol inhalers for asthma students, and that was used 3 times. So that really did work out great. That student we may have had to call rescue if they didn't have it. So that's really, really good. This is just kind of a rundown. Let's see, did I miss anything? Oh, 284 tube fees. So lots of that going on too. If you can pull up the yes, okay, if we can scroll all the way to the top. So this is what you and I discussed today. So I kind of just tried to oh wait, no, that's not it. We can go to this next. Sorry, this is kind of skipping around, but one of the things that we discussed today is we get a lot of over-the-counter medications in our office, and our cabinets are just overflowing with, 55 Tylenols and all these things. So in order to streamline that process, my thought was this is a document I used for the DC trip. So it was just kind of an easy way to show you guys without making a new one. What I have parents do is they can sign off on what they would allow their child to have. So whatever I have in stock, so let's just say Neosporin, ibuprofen, Tylenol, things like that, parents can give their okay. And I'll have you still fill out the same form for medication authorization. And then we would always call parents complaints. So they would always be alerted that their child was going to be taking a medication. But that way we can just give them our stock, and we're not having parents bring in all of this stuff that we have to try to send home at the end of the year, try to weed through every time they come in. Obviously, if it's something special or a parent wants them to have a specific brand or cough medicine or something like that, I'm not going to keep things like that. So they can bring that in specifically, but I'm hoping that would just cut down. And what stock medications also do is it keeps kids in school. Because a lot of times they're going home for things that we could take care of at school. And they come back an hour later and like, oh yeah, I'm fine. So it really helps parents out a lot too that can't leave work and bring their child something. So I do think it has worked out well in the past with us just calling parents in those situations. But this would be nice because then we have it written, documented that the parent gave their permission as well as their verbal permission. So something to consider. Okay, now that's just kind of what the one looks like for DC. So we don't need to be that specific with it, but this just kind of gives you an idea of what it could look like, listing stock beds, parents giving permission for those things. And then I thought too, we could also, not only would we keep the paper copies, because that's what we do with them, have them in a little binder so we can look them up, but then we could also put it in emergency alerts, student okay to have ibuprofen, Tylenol, Neosporin. That way we have it.
Sorry, go ahead. I'll ask when you're ready for questions.
Oh, ready.
My apologies. Will this go in with registration so every child will get this, or this be a one-on-one? If they come in for
could,
first.
yes. Or we could have it just be part of our normal thing. So when parents come in and ask for my student or my child is going to need Tylenol, we can give it to them. But doing it at registration would probably be better. that way parents would be like, oh yeah, they can have that. That's fine.
Yeah, ideally digitized.
Yeah. Yeah, which would be really, really nice. So that's a thought for sure. And then in the document, I would definitely put the caveat like the nursing staff will call the parents before anything's given, just to give you a heads up and talk with you about what's going on first, so that it's not just we're giving them something all the time kind of thing. For sure. Okay.
Was Benadryl or anything like that in the for bites, stings, and stuff?
Yes. So I do. That is on the list of medications that I send to DC just in case. But yeah, I always keep Zyrtec and Benadryl, just in case. Yeah, they have come in handy too many times. Oh, want to flip over to standing orders. Okay, so this is one document that I send to our medical advisor, Dr. Colleen Johnson. With our talk today, we talked about a lot more in-depth things that should be given to you guys and discussed with you guys. So I tried to put together as much of that as I could just on the fly. But I do send this every year. So as an RN, I do have to get permission from the doctor in order to give over-the-counter medications to students. So I send this document to Dr. Johnson every year, and then she signs off that, yeah, it's okay for Whitney to give these medications to kids. And then if you can scroll down, there's another page because, yeah, that this is the other protocol that I sent in that basically, or I should say standing order, that lists all protocols for almost every possible thing you can think of. And Dr. Johnson then gives me permission to move forward caring for students within my scope of practice with these things. So it's like blisters, burns, bee stings, all of those things that we deal with on a daily basis. So this is done yearly. Dr. Johnson will also, we refer to her with different things that come up throughout the year. It's not very often, but she is pretty responsive to things. So if there's something really big going around, I'll contact her and be like, hey, what are people saying? Like, what are you telling your patients to do? What should I be telling parents? Other than that, it's all facilitated on my end. So it's not like there's anything coming from her at any point. So that gets sent in every year. And then if you want to go to protocols, I think it's just the next one over to the left. Okay, so we were talking about needing to have all of our protocols written down so that everybody can see them, everybody can access them. So it's based on our policies, but it breaks things down. Obviously, we're not going to go through all of these, but it lets you know as the nursing staff how we are going to be assessing students when they come in for these specific things. So I went through and I broke all of these things down for you. So accidental injury protocols would be like severe bleeding, head injuries, concussions, things like that. Towards the end of the school year, we started sending home things for kids that have a possible concussion. Typically, if that happens, parents are going to come pick the kids up. Most of those kids that have concussions have had them before. So a lot of times parents are like, ooh, not going to mess around with that. I'll come get them. But a call home is always given for something like that. Anaphylaxis, severe allergies. So it lists all of the possible scenarios and what the steps would be for each one of those. All of the kids that have, like we talked about earlier, all the kids that have anaphylaxis or severe allergy would have an emergency care plan in place. So there is a plan already for that in place. So we would be looking at that first before we started to do step by step, because every kid's different and what's needed. I think, is that the whole, there might be more. Then it goes into injuries, all different kinds. So yeah, kind of just everything I could think of, I kind of just made a little protocol list for it. And then if you can flip over to the next one for me, the epinephrine. These ones I made up last year. So these are very specific, and it goes through, as a school district, what is our plan for stock epinephrine. And it goes through all the considerations, when it would be used, who would be using it, where is it stored, all of those things. Currently, we store all of our stock epinephrine in an unlocked drawer in the nurse's office. So it can be, anybody can come in and use it if necessary, that stream keeps it. In our AED boxes, we keep Narcan and then the AEDs and a kit for the AEDs. So like a razor, things like that. We had talked about possibly putting an EpiPen in our AED boxes as well, but then you kind of get into what if a kid gets in there and gets one kind of a thing. But that's something to discuss too. And it also would be a matter of, can I get my hands on that many of them? They're really expensive to buy, but I can get 2 every year. Actually, I get 4 every year for free. So we would have to buy the other 3 for stock. So it's something to consider. I mean, it could save a life. So something that we could, talk about down the line. Also on here, this is something that Michelle and I talked about earlier in the year last year. There was just so much going on, we kind of never got back to it. In addition to the EpiPens, I also have another product called Neffy. Neffy is the inhaled epinephrine that just came out on the market last year. So I was able to get my hands on, I think I have 4 of them. So that's also an option of something we could keep in the AED boxes as well. But that's going to be another tricky thing too, because we'll have to talk about wording when it comes to our policies as well, because it's a different mode of administration. So something down the line we'll have to talk about. So I do have it. I do have permission to use it from our medical advisor. She's like, use it. It's great. Insurance just isn't covering it right now. That's why they just don't have it. So we have that as well. So just a side note. And then if you can flip over to the next one for me, the stock bronchodilators. I should just do the next one after that. This is the same thing, but it talks about the inhalers. So we talked about how I have those stock here. I just keep 2 in stock, and then I have disposable spacers to use with them. It kind of looks like a toilet paper roll. And then after the kid uses it, we throw it away. We take it apart, rinse everything out, and it can be used again for another student. So that has worked out really, really well last year. Last year was the first year that we had those. So this just goes through like the other one did, all the considerations, when we would use it, why we would use it, who can have it, who can administrate it. So this is not something I'm going to be sending on field trips or anything like that, unless we had an emergency type situation, but more than likely that. So that leads into field trips. What I do for field trips every year is every teacher, I go by grade level and teacher, and then everybody gets who's in their class that has a health plan, what the health plan is, considerations for each child, and then I use those moving forward for field trips, and I send copies of that with them if anything's changed, like, hey, don't forget this kid needs XYZ. Or is their parent coming? Okay, and then I don't need to send meds, things like that, conversations like that with teachers. Then every teacher has a bag that will have an emergency kit and then any medications that might need to go along for each specific student. So we will do that for field trips, for athletics, typically for track and cross country, I will send an EpiPen with one of them, just because there's a greater possibility, obviously, those times of year and being outdoors for bee stings like that. Otherwise, with them, first aid. Trying to think what else was on that just now. Did you talk about training health, CPR training, the training you do with staff? So staff training, we do it's kind of just your basic first aid. So we go through if a student's choking, what to do. We go through EpiPen training, and I have a bunch of practice EPIs, so everybody gets to practice, kind of see what that feels like. We go through seizure protocols. We go through the diabetic protocols. And those ones I can kind of make student specific in a way. Like, okay, this student sometimes if they're low will act like this, or if they're high they'll act like this. This is what we need to do moving forward. So I think it's good, and parents are on board with that as well. They want everybody that comes into contact with their student to know what it looks like when it's an emergency. what I usually do for CPR is the Bristol Fire Department is amazing, and they come over and do CPR training for all of our staff. So the thought was to open up to all staff, kind of see what kind of response we get. So if we get kind of a smaller response, we can do everybody at one time. If not, we can kind of break it up into two different classes. What we've done in the past too with our medical response team, like our emergency response team, is we did a stop the bleed class. They did the fire department did this really great like first aid. There's more in-depth first aid and stop the for us. So that was really, really good, and they love doing it. So I'm sure that they would not mind doing it again for us. But we could open that up to a bigger, to more staff if they wanted to. I know for some people that can be a little traumatizing doing the stop the bleed and things like that. So it's good knowledge to have. So that's an option as well. But we like to have right now, all of our medical team is CPR certified. Obviously, I am and Rachel is. And then I try to have all of our EAs certified as well. I think they're all coming up due this year, so I'll have to do another one with all the EAs. But I think that's it. That was it? Okay. For you. Okay. Any questions?
Thank you so much. No,
No,
that's
thank
a
you.
lot of good input.
I like the infographic.
Yes.
Kind of small. Sorry.
Thank you you and Rachel do a wonderful job. So thank you.
Right, so moving on to district administrator reports.
All right.
Being flexible because we kept changing parking lots that they had to go to every day. And I'd like to thank Move for his work on that. And then our new website is up and running. Tony, would you mind clicking on that link? And if you just want to scroll down, it just has a little bit of a different look. We've got our welcome. We've got some different, it's just set up a little bit differently. We're excited about it. I have to thank Lori Baird for all of her work on this. Again, you should be able to access different things, and hopefully it's organized in a way that's, just a little more user friendly. So information will continue to change, but we're excited about the new website. And eventually we should be able to, we've got our little Facebook tab there. Eventually that should be linked. So again, some districts have it where, the information on the Facebook feed is just right on the website. So that's something that we haven't enacted yet, but again, we're excited about it, and Lori's worked very hard on it. She's still working on making sure that everything is ADA accessible. So
Looks good.
yeah,
Looks great.
Looks good on the phone too.
good. Yeah, good. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, Tony. Now we can move on. And on Monday, we had our links for leaders at the Brightondale Golf Course. Victor golfed, Tony golfed.
I tried to.
Yeah, well, right, and in all the heat. So it looks like a beautiful course, and it looked like everybody had a great time. Buildings for Leaders is a positive behavioral and intervention support incentive program for 8th graders who've demonstrated exemplary traits of character and leadership during their final year at Bristol. So they get a chance to go for free with either a staff member, a community member. A big thank you to Tony for all of his work in coordinating this, getting sponsors, getting everything organized, getting the nice new red shirts ordered. It was a great day and it was a hot day. So thank you, Tony. Yep, you can move on to the next one, Tony. And then I'd also, we'd like to thank Brightondale for having us, but we'd also like to thank this year's sponsors for their generous support. That would be Addicted to Deals, American Outfitters, Eckhart Heating and Cooling of Kenosha, Uline, Clearview Recycling, and Legendary Services. So, Tony, do you have anything you want to add? It looked like it's a great day and always a good time.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's always a ton of fun to parents, students. The students get a nice little grab bag and
Yeah.
get the shirt, and they're always excited to be out there. So it's a lot of fun, and it's a good way to engage interest in the sport and the game. So
Yeah.
love doing it.
There was one student in particular who told me she was going over volleyball, and I'm like, you really should go over volleyball. Like, she was pretty awesome. Okay.
It's fun.
Be on your toes here, Tony.
That sounds
Summer school. We are in our last week of session 2 of summer school. We're starting session 3. The kids have just been awesome. The staff have been awesome. There have been a lot of just they're learning, but they might not know they're learning. And I've been really impressed with the creativity of our staff. Today, they made our master pastry class. Made homemade bread and they had honey and butter. I have to really, again, applaud our summer school staff, Linda Eman, for all of her work. They've had to be flexible. Some of the classes, I mean, that booklet was very large. So again, we had to pare down classes somewhat based on staffing we have available. And also just based on the fact that we didn't want to run classes with less than 10 kids if we had to. So we did have the more of the enrichment academic classes the first 2 weeks. And then this last week is simply going to be just more of the fun learning classes. Not that reading and math aren't fun. I don't mean to imply that, but yeah. Okay. And there's just a picture of our summer school staff. Again, they've been a joy. They have taken classes and just run with them. I believe Carla is doing a lemonade stand class. It's an entrepreneurial class. So they are doing the whole thing of having to market their lemonade and take orders and try to figure out profits and things like that. So it's pretty cool. Okay, Tony. Strategic planning update. We had our first meeting on June 24th. Danielle Bosnick came and facilitated. We had a nice group of people. During that meeting, we took a look at the current strategic pillars. We kind of reviewed our mission and vision. We also, in small groups, talked about like, what do we want for our Bristol students? Not just academically, but like, what do we want them to lead with, right? And I think we all agree, we want them to care about their community. We want them to be upstanding citizens. We want them to care about other people, right? Like, we obviously want strong academics. We want to put them in a position where we give them a foundation for whatever they choose to be, whether that's they want to go to technical college or a four-year college or the military or start their own business. So I think it was a great session. It was really nice to hear other people's ideas. And again, kind of that's okay. You can go to the next one, Tony. Next steps. So we really spent time looking at the current pillars that we have, that community engagement, valued and dedicated workforce, student achievement, enhanced learning opportunities, and systems for efficient operations. And took some time, what do those mean to us? And do we need to, like, what is the why behind them? Do they make sense? Do they need to be tweaked a little bit? So when we meet next Monday, which is our next meeting, some of the recommendations we had, community and family engagement, pretty standard. Valued and dedicated workforce. We talked about a little bit of tweaking there. We talked about student academic achievement. And instead of enhanced learning opportunities, we talked about student supports and well-being, kind of opening that up a little more. And then instead of systems for efficient operations, we want to be efficient with just systems and operations. So we had good conversations. I'm assuming we're going to have good conversations on Monday. And then just some planning updates. We are doing a lot of planning for next year. We've got a lot of really great things going on. Again, in response to information that we received from our staff, from the community, from the surveys, really looking at taking a look at safety, discipline, behavior, and really looking at what are we doing at the tier 1 level, at the universal level in all of our classrooms. We just sent some staff to responsive classroom training. We're going to be sending some more in August, and we're really hoping that the teachers who go to that training can lead this initiative. Responsive classrooms is really all about creating engaged classrooms, which a lot of our teachers do, but it just gives it a little more structure, common expectations, logical consequences, right? So if you break something, you fix it. If you are mean to somebody, you apologize to them, right? Really setting, the idea is to be proactive in things and set people up for success. So very excited. Again, I was excited that the people who went to the training were excited. Sometimes you are like, oh, where's this going to go? And pretty much all the expenses for those trainings will be paid for with our title funds. So just so you know where that's coming from. And then I had the chance to go with Elizabeth Nielsen, Jessica Grum, and Carrie Lum to a professional development session in Oconomowoc in June on Open SciEd, which is a free source curriculum. Free, but not really free, but the curriculum is free. And it was put on by the Department of Public Instruction with their science expert. It was very well done. Very great overview of Open SciEd. And Open SciEd is very hands-on. It's a very engaging curriculum, and it's very conceptual. So there's a lot of driving questions and kids really, really thinking about science differently. Teachers are facilitators. It's not, just sitting that kind of learning. So we're very excited about that. With that, the curriculum's free. But if we were to just say, here, teachers, take this curriculum and make it, they would probably quit because it would be so overwhelming. So there are companies who sort of do that work for the teachers and have platforms that the teachers can access things from and kind of help guide them through units. They provide professional development. So the one we're looking at is Carolina Biological. We're hoping to pilot with them for the first trimester, each science teacher doing 2 units through them. And we'll keep you updated on that. Again, I'd really like to get the teachers in front of you so you can hear their thoughts on it, maybe even a student or two, as we go, into the pilot. And we will keep you updated because if it's something that we decide, hey, we'd really like to go with this, then we'd be coming to you for a recommendation around adoption. And then personal communication devices, cell phone expectations. We've talked about this before, especially with kind of the state mandate around cell phones. We have a very strong policy. We will just be enforcing the policy next year. So again, students can bring their cell phones to school, but they will be turned off and they will be put in caddies. Again, there are exceptions for when students can have them, right? If they have a medical condition that would necessitate an IEP, if their teacher says, hey, I'm doing a unit where I really want your cell phones out, and we do have to have them accessible in the event that there would be, heaven forbid, some type of emergency, such as a school shooting or something like that. But I think I've talked to you before, there really is a lot of research to show that schools that kind of put these things away and focus on learning, it solves a lot of issues around behavior issues, engagement, things like that. So just kind of a preview of what's to come there.
Real quick, back to the Carolina Biological. Is that being piloted at all 6th through 8th grade, or just you're picking a grade and pilot?
No, all 3.
All 3.
6 and 8.
Okay, so there's 2, 4, 6.
6 units. Yeah.
6 units. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I'm excited for them. They're pretty excited. And again, we had one staff member who went into that training at Open Syed, really not, like, I don't know about Open Syed, and by lunchtime was like, oh my gosh, we need to go Open Syed. So I'm glad that the teachers had a chance to, get their input, and we got their feedback, because ultimately they're the ones that are administering the curriculum. Okay. And then just informational, Courtney and I went to the tax incremental district meeting for Pleasant Prairie on June 25th. TID number 5 is being retired early, estimated sometime in 2027. They did not give us an exact date. So that could be during the 26-27 school year. It could be the 27-28 school year. We are anticipating that we will get some revenue from that. How much we don't know. And again, we are one municipality in that TID district. There are several other. We will keep you posted as we learn more. TID number 11 is a younger TID. They didn't have a lot of information to bring on TID number 11. I believe they might be amending it. So they're having a second meeting on August 25th. Originally, I thought that was July. I am able to attend that TID meeting as well, so I can provide you with further information. So just things to be aware of on the horizon. I think that's it.
Yeah.
All right.
Any questions to Michelle? Thank you. There's a lot of information on there.
Thanks again, Whitney.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good summer. Moving on to Jorge, business manager finance updates.
Hey, so on July 1st, well, technically June 30th is like the end of year for us for the business office. So it's like, what is it? New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, right on 7/1, and we're like, yay, it's finally arrived. But with that, there's so much that goes within, right? Like rolling over the financial system, making sure that purchases that fall within 25-26 get CAD coded in that year. Anything that comes upcoming in the 26-27 coding in that year as well. So it's there's a bit of a divide there. But wanted to focus on the funds and our overall health, right? So we're looking at an entire year's worth of financials. So we're looking at them, here from a high level in terms of the fund itself, right? So what are those major funds? Our operational fund is our general fund, Fund 10. And so what we have here is the activity, right? So we're looking at activity during the fiscal year of 2025 and 2026. So these are actual, right? I think from the board reports that we send out, you're able to see more data, right? More columns, what was budgeted at the start of the year, what was the revised budgeted, right? Because we did revisions as well. Then you're also to contrast that with the previous year, 24-25. Right? And then what we're looking at here, and I'm sorry I didn't bring any print copies, I usually do, but we're looking at actuals, right? Because budget is one thing we can say, yep, we anticipate this, and then here's where we landed. So in terms of revenue for Fund 10 for the year, and this is a snapshot as of the reports when they were run on July 10th. So this is when they were run last Friday, right? So this is capturing all that data that came up to that point. Revenues were 11,251,637. Total expenses on Fund 10 at that point were 10,766,335. And then, if you're taking just that, report that we reported on for the June financials, right? You're looking at what those amounts ended. So the unencumbered balance would be the difference between those numbers, which at that point would be 485,302, right? If you're looking at it from Fund 27, in terms of revenues that came into Fund 27 during that current fiscal year, that would be the 1,997,253. That also includes a transfer from Fund 10 to 27, right? Because Fund 27 is not a standalone alone fund that can fund itself entirely. And so therefore there's a end of year transfer that occurs from Fund 10 to 27 to help offset some of those costs. So with that 1.2 million transfer, there's still a remaining balance there of 141,214. So the question then is why, that's out there is because there's a lot of ongoing activity, right? So there's activities with any invoices that we've had within 25, 26, which are special education, right? For anything that happened in June, those still coming in, right? Or we have to make sure that we capture all of that, right? So all expenses, all liabilities, we have to account for all of that. And the same thing for revenue, right? So we have to account for that as well. Fund 50, you'll notice 323,760 in terms of revenues, 333,599 in terms of expenses. So that's the actuals on that account. So that includes the transfer from Fund 10 to 47 as well, right? So even with that, there's still a bit of offset there. We're still receiving claims from June for food service, right? There's still the annual food service report. So there's, that's why I put that caveat there at the bottom. 25, 26 still has a lot of ongoing fiscal activity during the months of July and August, right? So this number, we know that it will change, but it's something that we monitor closely, and that we're having our audit next week, the 20th. And so we work closely with Lucida and with Phil, our auditor, so that we can get year-end positioning as soon as possible. Okay. Next slide. So on the fund transfer, and I mentioned this in the previous slide, the amount is at 1.2 million transfer. And from the budget reporting, you can see that on the transfer lines for expenses within Fund 10, there's a transfer account, right? So that's at 1.2 million, and you see that 47,000 on there. By year end, and our auditor will indicate to us where they need to be in order to close out at zero. Both those accounts have to get to zero, right? So essentially, and then, if you see that, you're like, well, we're short that, but that's already accounted for within that previous slide that we saw, total revenues and total expenses. So it's not that we're having to go outside of those funds to then, make this additional transfer. It's within that. Next slide. Okay, so this shows some just Fund 27 history, right? So across the years, and I think we may have had this in the budget workshop, but it goes through. It's very small, the print on there, but you see the previous years, and then just look at the last year one, which was 1,244,000, right? So it's at 1.24 million. So that was our budget transfer amount from Fund 10 to 27 last year. We're hovering very near that amount currently.
What's the purple line?
The purple line is at okay, with the small number.
Yeah.
Number of SWD, it says.
Students with disabilities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
there's that correlation between students with disability and Fund 27. Really, this is transfers, right? That's what we're looking at here. Yeah.
Yeah, great, thank you.
But as you see, those historically do go up. Okay, next slide. So I'd like to go over a few highlights in the year. Fund 10 had a lot of highlights, I think, especially around salaries, right? So our budgeted amount for salaries was 5,543,777. It's our highest cost. So instead of transfer, it should be the actual activity there. So the activity there ended up being 5,292,431. So that's a difference of 251,000. So that particular account, right, grouping of the 100s came within budget, right? So we made it under budget on that one. Employee benefits, right? We accounted for the increase in employee benefits, and even with that increase that we built into the budget last year, we still came a bit under 70,517. Right? So budget amount, actual, and then the difference between that. Purchase services, right? So that's almost, just about spot on there with 1,774,617 for the budgeted amount, and then the actual amount coming in at 1,749,912. So a difference there of under budget of 11,000. So within a number that big, right? It's a very small percentage difference on that difference there. Next slide. So that's a bit of Fund 10, Fund 27. So some notable activity, right? Our salaries. The budgeted amount, revised budget amount, was 1,215,638, and the actual activity in that account seconds, came in at 1,203,194. So there's that difference of 1244. So that's the with how we came under budget on that one as well. Employee benefits also came in under budget under 127, and the difference there is 38,000. Purchase services we did go over, right? So we did go over and we anticipated, that we would with purchase services. We had several costs there, and so we did go over by $2,327 as well.
Would speech pathology be under purchase services?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and all those functions, within purchase services would be, SPL, hearing, vision, OT, all the services that are provided to our students with special educations, conforming to their IEPs as well.
Great. Thank you.
Mhm. Good. And next slide. And this is just a Fund 38 kind of overview. I know it's really small there, but to look at on the screen, but that is our debt repayment. And so our debt repayment, we could see that, in 24-25 was 50,658. This year was 50,028. And so that's pretty standard with that. Fund 39, so that's where our defeasance amount and those, would fit in that piece of the puzzle. So that's non-operational costs. And you can see there the budgeted amounts as well. They all came in well within the budgeted amount in terms of revenues and expenses on that as well. Fund 50, taking a closer look at that as well, right? We did see that we had a slight deficit, and we'll need a transfer from Fund 10 to Fund 50 to help offset that. This is just, going more in depth and looking at the groupings, and even, that we came under with salaries, employee benefits, employee purchase services came under. So even though those groupings came under, we're still, technically over budget in that particular fund, and so we will need a transfer to help get it back to zero on that as well. Okay. And then next slide, Tony. Some upcoming activity for the business office within the next 30 days is, number one is closing out the fiscal year. So we're looking at closing out the 25-26, working closely with our auditors to get the final numbers on where we're at positioning wise for the district. And part of that audit includes samples, right? So we work with our auditor, provide them any samples that they would like to look at. Some of those are, for example, payroll, right? They would like to look at time off allocation. So any invoices, they ask for several different components to see just, how we're doing in all those key areas, and we supply that to them. Our goal with the business office is to have as least adjustment journal entries by the end of the year, right? So, and last year we had 18, so we're hoping to
The goal is less than
keep
18.
that going, reduce
17
Got
it. But our goal is definitely to,
Nice.
reduce that as well. OPEB benefits are important too, and post-employment benefits. We're providing our actuary company a update on post-employment obligations, right? And so this year, those are less than last year. Essentially, this year we have not had to do any OPEB payments this year because our schedules have finished with that for the current year. So 1 year they do a full study, which was the last year, which takes longer time and more in depth. This year is just a table update. So they just ask for our payment amounts throughout the year on that. We'll also be working in the business office with any potential, CPI compensation adjustments, what have you, and then for the 26-27 school year. So building those in, if so any adjustments there. Preparing for the annual budget meeting. So as we have preliminary data, looking to get the more data from the state in terms of just building that annual budget meeting. Hiring and onboarding is our busy season for new staff that are coming on board. So we're busy with that. We're getting them set up with their benefits. We're getting them onboarded into Skyward. We're doing also best as possible to get our reporting system or Skyward as clean as possible, as efficient as possible, so that it can do more for us, right? So that's an ongoing effort that we're doing, and we've come a long way, and we continue to do that as well. Annual reporting, so it's a busy season also for annual reports, right? With year end, you would imagine so. So DPI has a lot of annual reporting that occurs over the summer, for the year. Food service annual reporting, there's a lot of annual reports there. Medicaid as well, right? As well. EdFi, so we are continually sending our financial data to DPI through a feed, right? And that happens on a regular basis. And part of that work is that we want to make sure that the validations and all our accounts are accurate and correct and sending the right way. So we work to make sure that that's happening, and consistently, and cleaning up any validations as we see them. Same with WISE staff, with any updates, any transfers, right? Between movement staff into this district, in and out of the district. We want to make sure that our records with DPI are updated as much as possible, and that way it's always easier to maintain. Um, Employee benefits and census updates. Also, this is time of year where we do that. Is where our benefit providers, we work with them to get them up to date census data, so that we have all our lists accurate, with all the new staff that are boarding, staff that have left, so that we have just that as up to date as possible. And then managing those portals as well. In terms of collaborating with staff, we're also looking at internally collaborating with staff on budget thresholds. So looking as we go into a new year with the budgeted amount, with the new 26-27 budget, there's a budgeted amount. If once you get close to that threshold, having a conversation with me, right? Do we need to reallocate resources, adjust, pivot, whether if there are even micro adjustments, but we do need to work with staff collaboratively on that. Budget tools are a really important part of that, I think, as well. So it's something that I think the business office and school in general, leadership and departments, the more that we work together and have shared information, I think it's better for all of us in terms of expenditures, in terms of how things are getting coded, that they're being coded correctly, that they're being allocated correctly, budgeted for correctly, anticipating expenses. So all of that, I think, as we work more collaboratively, it's just going to become a easier process, for all of us. So a lot of those budget tools, they're not fancy. They're spreadsheets, they're Google sheets, right? But they're online and they're collaborative. And so the important part about that is that we're able to have transparency, even just at all levels with that as well. And they're much easier for staff to understand. And part of that is working with staff on building their knowledge base too, with school funding, in general. Having said that, with state aid into next year, with any of the title grants, so I'll be working closely with Michelle on building those outs. We want to make sure that what we're budgeting for in our financial software in Skyward matches the DPI budgeted amounts, that every time we see a claim come in, right, that those claims are posted correctly in both spaces. And we want to make sure that the folks involved, in that process are all sharing of that information. So just doing a lot of work in bringing that up as well. Okay.
I mean, this was your first year of full budget, right, at zero sum, and then educating the staff. How's the staff accepting it?
Yeah. So I think pleasant surprise, and to my surprise, they're not overwhelmed,
Okay.
right? So and I try to do bite size enough, right, to say, yep, within your apartment, these are the big budget category items, and so part of that has been that process where we meet on a regular basis. I share a spreadsheet, we go through and then we have conversations, what do you expect, right? And then we prioritize and we say what our needs wants, and we say what do we have threshold for. And so I think part of that is, as we have those conversations with staff, they're hearing terminology from me on budget tolerance.
Yeah.
How much do we actually have to work? And so it kind of, and then big picture, right? How their piece, their work also ties into just overall planning with the entire budget and how that fits in as well.
So you're educating the educator in budget
And learning.
and learning, yeah, and learning on, and
Always
staff
have an
is,
approach, yeah.
any feedback from the staff that you heard about the process?
Feedback that I've heard, specifically from two of people on our leadership team is they are so thrilled that they're being included in conversations. Just having an understanding and being able to give feedback on, hey, I need this and this is why. And having Courtney taking the time to sit down with them, not just once, but right, like every 6 weeks, would you say every 4 to 6 weeks, maybe?
Forwarding.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. And yeah, adjustments that need to be made. They need to be made. We had a impromptu session today with our principals, just going over staffing budgets. So just understanding, like when we're hiring people, like who's leaving and how much did they cost and who are we bringing in and what impact does that have, right? So I think they appreciated it, and the feedback that I've heard from our leadership team is positive. I think they feel much more in the know and just have a
Transparency.
Yes, just a
Right.
clear
Because
picture.
I think that was the
where they're
feedback we got earlier, that you didn't have a lot of transparency into some of these processes, and
For sure.
okay, it's good, we moved the needle.
Yeah.
Well, Jorge had.
Yeah, it needs to work. Yeah.
We'll
A
continue
lot of
moving.
even for us, the in the know for us has
Yeah.
been
Yes.
drastic.
Oh,
So
yeah.
love it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All right, public comments. Public comments. All right, 10-1 was second reading of the 9 policies. Any questions on those 9 policies? We did our first reading in the last meeting, June. This is now our second reading of these 9 policies. Can I get a motion to approve the second reading for the 9 policies?
I'll make a motion for the second reading of the 9 policy to approve.
All right, and a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries 5-0. Going on to 10B, which is the first reading for policy 5136. Do we have any questions on that policy?
Just as long as we align it for what Michelle told us about district and make sure that they tie together.
Yeah, that was the purpose of bringing it back.
Yeah, I haven't seen what you guys are working on, but I did, just to make sure that they're tied.
For sure.
Can we talk about where it says duty to report? A person who discovers a student using a PCD in violation of this policy is required to report the violation to the building principal. What does that look like in practice?
It's probably a simple email to the principal. Depending on
Well, I know what the reporting might look like, but I guess like who is the person? When we say a person, are we referring to staff? Are we expecting
but in my mind,
students
staff,
to
in my mind, staff.
Okay.
Yeah, I would not require a student to do that. That falls on staff.
Okay.
Great question.
Yeah. So then I would just say for that sentence, I would modify it then to maybe make it more clear, like it's staff or adult
Sure.
or whatever that would be.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
So this will be moved to our August agenda for a second reading.
yeah, great.
Moving on to 10C, which is the 2026-2027 student academic standards. We approve this every year. Nothing has changed that you
Correct.
have.
Yeah. Per Wisconsin State Statute 120.12, Tina's exactly correct. School boards are mandated to approve annually the academic standards that the students will be learning from. I'm also recommending that the board approve them. You are approving the standards in English language arts, mathematics, science, and social studies, which includes history and geography, and nothing has changed from last year's.
Great. I'll move to approve the Wisconsin academic standards for 26-27 in the following content areas: EL language arts, mathematics, science, and social studies, which includes history and geography.
I will second that. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries 5-0. Sorry. All right, 2026, 2027 Speak Teachers Unit Salary Proposal. Union, my apologies. Proposal. We had a meeting the other day where we talked about their proposal. Which everyone was able to view that. Any other questions on that proposal and then what we came back on the verbiage?
None.
No.
Two more questions
No more
or no questions?
No.
Okay. So I will make a motion to approve the 2026-2027 Speak Teachers Union salary proposal. And I'm going to read what we changed on that, which is the 2.63% times the BA base wage of 48,202 and the 2.63 percentage times the master's base wage of 54,352 effective July 1st, 2026. Plus we would include the step increase. Can I get a second on that motion?
I'll second.
All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to staff compensation. That was 2026, 2027 non-certified hourly compensation. Do you want to say your recommendation
Sure.
or do you?
Sure. So I am recommending a 3% increase for our non-certified support staff in addition to for the hourly staff, in addition to their 26-cent step increase for the 26-27 school year. Having said that, I would also like to do an analysis of our current non-certified staff payroll scale to determine if market adjustments need to be made moving forward to our starting salaries or ending salaries or anything in between. And this would be a project for this upcoming 26-27 school year and would be part of the benefits / compensation committee's work. I would like to bring support staff, other staff members into this conversation. We now have access to some fairly good comparable information, either DPI, through CSUP-I, and through our Baird Analytics. So I think it will be helpful as we look at where are our hourly staff in comparison to other benchmarks. And I just want to say we have great support staff. They work very hard and they're very deserving of anything that any increase that we give.
Yeah,
sure.
Thank you for thinking about doing a deeper dive in that because both short and long-term planning, that would be wonderful to discuss. So thank you. Does anyone have any questions? If not, I'll make a motion. Okay. I'll move to do the 3% increase for non-certified staff in addition to the 26-cent step for 26-27 school year.
Okay, can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Any nays? Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to the milk bids. We currently are with Prairie Farms, correct?
Correct.
For multiple years.
Correct.
Okay.
So I am recommending that the district continue its partnership with Prairie Farms for the 26-27 school year. Prairie Farms for 3 to 4 cents per carton lower than the bid from Ray Alderman. The Prairie Farms bid came in 32 cents per carton and Ray Alderman came in at 35 cents per carton. This would ensure that our families would not have an increase in milk prices for the 26-27 school year.
I will make a motion to approve the 2026-2027 contract for Prairie Farms to work with Bristol School. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to open enrollment updates.
So we had, for the last couple of board meetings, we've been talking about essentially our 4K open enrollment and where numbers are at. And I had asked to bring this agenda item back. At this time, I will be recommending that we do not accept any more students to our 4K through open enrollment. That doesn't mean that I might not come back closer to the school year. We currently have 53 students who are planning on attending our 4K program next year, and we have not begun our enrollment, registration and enrollment process. The goal was to have that up and running on Monday, but due to our web migration, we just could not do it. So hoping to get registration and enrollment going yet this week. But until we have a better idea of how many kids are still out there that have not enrolled, I'm just hesitant to go over, we've got a threshold of 68. So
How many of the 53 are open enrolled?
I believe, are there 12G? 17. 17. Yeah. So we really want to keep spaces available for any incoming.
That's a whole class, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
How many classes do we have at the level?
So
3,
Yeah.
right?
four sections
Four.
or half day sections.
4 half days.
I will say this too, I think forward from a strategic sense, I do think we want to explore what it would look like to have a full day program at Bristol. That doesn't, and I know there's concern there because then would we only be able to offer 2 half day programs. I'd like to do some surveying of our community. I don't know how many students we lose to full day programs, maybe not that many, I don't know. But when we look at the long-term health of the district, we're losing 102, 103 eighth graders every year, and we're only bringing in 68 at the 4K level. That's a huge swing, and it's hard to make that up. So
Let's see.
I think it's just something you need to think about. Makes sense.
So that was for 4K.
Correct.
Do you not make it up in kindergarten?
Sometimes not.
Just curious.
Yeah. I think, Victor, to your point, I think spending some time on enrollment trends is
Yeah.
something that we want to do to be strategic.
Thank you.
Do you have other recommendations?
That's right. And then we had a couple of alternative open enrollment applications. I think that I shared, see, I need to find them. 2 of them, I believe, were at. They were all at grade levels that had openings. So I am recommending that we approve those. Sorry, I just didn't find them.
So can you remind me what the alternative means in this context?
Sure. It means that they didn't get the paperwork in by the actual date.
They missed the deadline.
Yeah, and in some cases, it also there could be various reasons. Sometimes we'll get them in the middle of the school year because somebody's being bullied really bad at their school and they need out or something like that.
But we already approved the seats that you're recommending.
Exactly. The
Okay.
seats have been approved and we don't have,
You didn't have them. But for the alternate open enrollment, there was one for 1st grade and one for 4th grade. We allowed 4 for 1st grade, we only got 1.
Oh,
So that's why we allowed the alternate app. And then for 4th grade, we allowed 7 and we only got 3. So that's where that comes in then.
so yeah.
So
They're
this is
within
just
the CAS.
informational.
It is. I'm not sure that you technically have to approve them, but I do want you to be aware of that.
Okay.
Sure.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, so
Do we need to make an motion on that?
just
we
informational.
we
Yeah.
already approved those seats.
10H allocation of 2025-2026 surplus revenue or funds included potential transfer to Fund 46.
So I am recommending that the board approve the transfer of $46,000 of any potential surplus money from the 25-26 school year into Fund 46, which is our capital improvement fund. That would bring our total in Fund 46 to $50,000. The transfer would need to take place prior to July 30th to still be applied to the 25-26 school year. This is important because the special aid adjustment or hold harmless adjustment that we received for our 25-26 school year would continue to be in effect for this transfer, and would not affect our operational budget in 26-27. I know I had shared maybe some concerns about what it would do to our budget
Mhm.
in the bigger term. But Jorge and I talked, and after consulting with some different people in the know, we don't know if we have surplus how much it will be, but we'd like to take at least a small portion or a portion of that and put it in Fund 46. Because they did not recommend that if it's larger than that, that we do a whole scale into Fund 46. So we met with Blue again today, and we were trying to see how much longer we have before we have to repair that last section of the roof. And we said it has to be done in the next school year. It's leftover its original roof from 1995, I believe. So again, that's money then that would not affect our operational budget next year. I'm also recommending that if there are any additional surplus dollars from the 25-26 school year after that Fund 46 transfer, that those funds be rolled over and applied to our general fund. That would assist with any cash liquidity issues that we might have. So especially in that November, December timeframe before we get our next influx of property tax revenue, when we've got payroll and things going on, we don't want to be in a position where we have to short-term borrow. And then it would also assist with the overall health of our fund balance. And we want to, even though we have a pretty healthy fund balance, we want to look at our fund balance in relation to our expenses. Is that correct, Jorge?
Yeah.
Debt ratio. So
Did we confirm that if we put that 46,000 in Fund 46, we can take it out when we need it for the roof?
Yeah, so there's two requirements with that. One of it is that since the account is open, it needs a 5-year seasoning period, right? So this year will be our 5th year contributing to that. So they would meet that requirement. The second one is that it has to be built into a master facilities plan district board approved, right? So those two, because in a potential audit future year, if we take money from Fund 46 and apply it to an expense, right, to cover a building repair, we have to be able to document that from board approved capital improvement plan.
So the capital improvement plan that we got from after the referendum, I don't think we approved that. I know we saw it, but I don't know that ever came to our,
Might not be a motion and a vote.
yes.
Yeah. So that would be something to revisit to make sure that it is embedded within that master facilities plan.
Okay.
How much is that last roof? Do we know?
we're talking today, I think the original quote was around like $85,000, but that's a couple of years old now. So we're estimating probably around $100,000.
And so is there a reason that we would only put 46?
I think Jorge, we were talking about just getting to 50, which would give us half, right? I think the other piece of it is we're in this negative tertiary situation. So we're just trying to be very cognizant of that. That might help us with a portion of the roof and not affect our budget next year, but we don't want to put so much in there that it hurts us down the road.
Right.
Because it's a 5-year season.
If the funds roll over to general fund, we could use them for the roof next year. Does it limit us from doing that?
Except he said the roof needs to be done this year.
Well, 26,
Right.
27.
The school
Yes,
year.
yes. So
I'm
Budget.
This
you're
school
talking.
year.
So we're not limited. We could use it out of the general fund if we need
Yes.
to. Okay. All right, great.
Yeah, and the other caveat with that is if we're putting it in a Fund 46, it's out of our operational budget, right? So then it's not like counting against us for an expense.
Yeah.
Whereas if we are using it as a Fund 10 expense, it is essentially an operation expense.
Got it.
Even if it falls within the 27 school year.
Right.
So it has to be under the revenue limit cap.
Yes.
And that Fund 46 account was a high interest That's why we created, that was supposed to be a high interest rainy day savings account.
We have to
Can
have
get there if we build it up to that high interest, yes.
Okay.
What's the
Yeah.
threshold for that? You know,
As far as what we can transfer over, there is that's discretionary of what's
it's discretion. Okay, good.
So then, with the information you gave us, would 46,000 be is do you have it that I guess low-ish because of? I mean, you have on here like number 2. It says the worst move would be fun.
Yeah, so I know I'm kind of contradicting that.
confused, yes.
No, that's the original background information I gave you. And that's why we're keeping it a little bit low, right? Like
Okay.
I mean, again, what you're saying basically is that you would authorize us to do that. We're trying to keep it low so that, just from a long-term perspective, if we put all of the surplus in, then I would be concerned. But in talking to Jorge, we're like, we think we'll be okay with this. Just a portion of a surplus. So
Well, it's tough because we don't know what the true surplus is
We
until all
don't.
expenses come in. There was around that 300K number, but we could get 200 grand worth of expenses. We don't know.
and we still have revenue coming in, so it's sort of a
Can we
rush.
wait for more of an actual number?
We can't because of that June or
It's
July
gotta be in
by July 31st. Yeah.
So I had her put it on the agenda. So next week, we didn't call for an emergency
Yeah.
board meeting
For you to have
to when we had the final number, unless you guys would
Okay.
rather want
No,
that.
Out of curiosity, the feedback that you probably called DPI and other experts, did you get it in writing? Because I feel like sometimes their advice shifts. So maybe not, but I know
Yeah.
you can do the best of what they recommended, but they don't know all the little moving
Right.
pieces either. So
Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah.
And we'll monitor it closely daily, right? So I'm providing our auditor trial balances, they're going through all the data and then they'll tell us, yep, this is where you're at. So if it happens to be a very strong, surplus and we are able to, perhaps go more right into that and perhaps cover, more of the expense for that roofing repair, right? Then does it make sense to within this month revisit it and say, could we increase that a bit? Right, but we'll have more indication once our auditor tells us with the final audit where we are positioned.
So we don't have an estimate?
Yeah, I mean, we have an estimate that we are in the positive, but they have
we
to
don't
give
know
us
how
the
much
amount. Yeah,
of an estimate.
yeah. There's just a lot. Right, there's a lot of
Because
activity.
what if it's like $10?
Yeah, I know.
I'm just saying.
Well, right now,
10 cents.
you said about 300,000 potentially.
Yes.
50 grand is well within that, so it's the 46 is in.
And there's activity going on.
Yeah, it's conservative.
And you said that affects our spending cap. So if we move it, it doesn't affect the spending cap. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So if let's say we transfer, a full amount, 100,000 into Fund 46, right?
Yeah.
Next year, when we have that expense and we're able to cover it through Fund 46, it won't affect our operational budget,
Right.
right? Because its money is outside of Fund 10. And there's a benefit to that, right? Because then, based on a revenue cap limit, it's not that we're pulling from those operational monies, and that's a huge benefit.
That's why I was
Yeah.
thinking we put more in that knowing that we have a roof if we have a surplus. So it doesn't come out of our operational unless I miss something there.
But
Yeah.
Because in the past we spent a lot of money repairing, not just the roof, the damage inside.
So, Joanne, I think the tough spot that Bristol's in, and Jorge, you're more of an expert than I am on this, is that we are classified as a negative tertiary district. So we're spending and that's not because we want to be long term. So we're spending above and we're a high property. Our property values are high, right? So more and more is falling to the taxpayer and we're getting less state aid. And we're trying to be strategic so that position ourselves so that we're not constantly in that higher negative tertiary spending long term.
So, Jorge, am I explaining that correctly?
No, that is
I'm looking at
correct,
Jorge
Loretta,
like,
because
send me a lifeline here.
there's a revenue limit per member, so that big pot, if you think of it, it'll stay the same, right? It'll be capped at that.
Right.
The difference is what consists of it, right? Is it local dollars? Is it state equalization aid? And there's that balancing act that happens.
And that's kind of
So,
what this explains, right?
yes.
The outcome. So what, to her point, she's wondering why not put in more? What if, I'm tracking, so what if we put in okay, let's say we put in 75, but we don't have it. What happens?
Well, that's why I was like, what if it's $10?
Well, yeah. I
Well,
mean,
so what happens is,
Well,
you know, it's
the motion,
Yeah.
the recommendation is any potential surplus. It's not,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay, so we could just make a motion
Yeah,
and then,
if there is a.
It was just a
surplus.
standing motion, so we
So
didn't
it's
have
not
to
a
come
fixed
back
amount,
like
no.
tomorrow or
Okay,
next week saying, oh, we need an emergency. That way we can give them the blanket of if we have the 75, 46, 105,
Great,
whatever,
got it.
that they can make that transfer
Executive
without
decision
having
to do it.
another
Yep.
meeting.
all right.
In
That
that
makes
motion,
sense.
do we have to in the motion have to say no more than?
However you want your motion
Or you
to,
Well, I'm just trying to.
you
see-
could,
up
up
to,
to,
up to maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
up to.
All right. Who wants to pick that number?
And there's no, is there a consequence if we move to, no?
Too much.
I move, well, there is a consequence if we do too much, it sounds like it would affect the special adjustment aid.
Right.
It's my move to give admin permission to move up to $100,000 of potential surplus to fund
46.
46.
I'll second that. That's exactly what my mistake.
So Danielle made the motion, Victor seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any nays? Motion carries 5-0. Does that cover what you guys were?
Yes.
Yeah, and then I think, second part of that is if there would be any remaining funds that the board is okay with us having that roll over into the general fund. You know, let's say there's $150,000 and you end up putting $100,000 into Fund 46. That the board is okay with that $50,000 in my play scenario, right? Just being rolled over.
Yeah. What's the alternative?
It's gonna roll over
Defeasance,
unless
right.
you decide.
Other
to
than
vote.
defeasance, yeah. All right. Yep. Rollover.
So motion to roll over any additional funds by Danielle. Victor will second that. You said yes. All in favor of that motion say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries 5-0.
Well done.
All right, 10I was the set date for the board communication workshop. This was a ask of Victor. This workshop will be Victor's baby. Of what you were entailing or what you were wanting at that workshop.
So the idea was to take the communications and pretty much make them more consistent, right? Especially from the board. I see this as a kind of a four-pronged communication challenge that we have. One from staff, right, meaning teachers and other staff. One from the parents, right, keeping them in queue. The community, and then the Board of Education. How do we keep the communications open? We've suggested, we've looked at what is important to certain people. I thought the infographic that we saw today was something that was really be kind of trivialized. I know it seems trivial, but it's information people have to understand. Hey, there's actually work going on and things that are happening that are good. The information that we have from our budget needs to come out a little bit more user friendly, right, so that it can be consumed. So what I'd like to do is get a strategy around how we can get that out to whether it's a website, whether it's the mailing that we had that one time, whatever, and put together a consistent messaging. The other example that we just heard tonight is we got a donation. Is the Board of Education ready to sign a thank you card for that donation and send it off to them? They sound trivial, but they mean a lot to the people in the community who are giving money and time to us. So that's what I was really kind of looking at as a communication strategy and trying to find a date that we can use that. And I can bring in, bunches of ideas of how to do that and go and workshop it, and then we can decide on a path forward.
Perfect. Do you have a date in mind?
Uh, Daylight hours.
Do you have a recommended date?
I do not have a recommended date.
Okay.
I can.
I have an idea. In the fact that if we are going to continue with a twice annual mailer cadence and we have an annual meeting September 23rd, if we, during that workshop, we could in live time make the mailer so we could communicate what we'd like there. So whether it's the last 2 weeks of August or like the first week of September at the like first week of September, that would give us time to notify and invite people to the annual meeting.
What is the? I should know this, but when does schools officially start? Is it September
September 1st.
1st?
Mm-hmm.
September. So I'd like to have that workshop probably sometime in August so that we can kind of hit the ground running with the new school year.
And this would be board led, so there really wouldn't be. We don't need you all to prepare much for that. We're talking about what we're internally going to do. What are we thinking? The last week of the August 24th.
I'm not here.
You're gone that
I'm
week.
still at fair.
August 24th.
What about August 31st?
Aren't you the last 2 weeks?
Oh, wait.
That's the day before start of school, isn't
Yeah.
The
it?
31st?
Next, our August meeting would be the 12th,
We meet the 13th. We moved it one day.
13th. Okay.
What about August 31st? Or, I mean, I could do any night that week, the week of the 31st.
It's hectic, isn't it? First week of school. Yeah. I don't have kids, so you guys.
What
gotta
about the
tell me.
third? But the third, I mean, like we're meeting. Well, we're meeting like 5 of us, and we're going to discuss what we're putting out in the mailer, other general comms. So we don't.
That I mean, we're happy to attend if you need us, but if you
Yeah,
don't
you're
need
welcome to
us-
attend. I'm not saying it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
for her, but
I could do the 2nd
Of
September.
I can make that one. Second.
no promises.
I've got the 2nd open, but I mean,
Okay.
I got the more flexible as
It
far
could
as
be
school
tentative
goes.
at the moment if something comes up and be like, yeah, we need to move it to the day before, day after.
Yeah.
Whatever. And as long as we're just, the bulk of us is there, I have to duck out and
Yeah.
the bulk of us is there to do the mailer. That would be great to get the community invited to the annual meeting because I bet you most
It's just-
don't realize that they get to be a part of it and vote on it.
Yeah. I think it's tying together the work on the BOE website page with the mailer and then just ideas of like what are the other big highlights we want to celebrate because it's kind of like celebrations and then informational things on the other side. Can you do 4:30 or you need to do 5?
4:30 is fine. I can. It's far enough out unless something breaks.
Yeah, we do 4:30 to 6:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
And thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, any other than the normal future items that go on the agenda, is there anything you guys wish to add to the agenda
Yeah, like
for the month of August?
nothing special. Just the usual.
I guess just usual with getting ready for school to start back up. Yeah. Anything specifically you'll need? I think what will be important is that all your head count filled and you got the right people in place.
Yeah.
Ready to rock. It's coming fast.
Yes, it's crazy. It feels like it was just graduation.
know.
Now it's like school. All right. Anything else? Number 12, convene into closed session. Under the board will convene into closed session to discuss and take action if appropriate under Wisconsin statute 19.851C to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any employee, any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility, specifically to discuss administrative contracts and approval of closed session minutes. I'll make a motion to move into closed session, seeking a second.
I'll second.
All in favor of that motion? I'm sorry, roll call. Tina, I. Victor,
Aye.
Nicole,
Aye.
Danielle,
Aye.
Joanne. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Move into closed.
3.
All right, so I will make a motion to approve, to go into open session. Seeking a second.
I'll second.
All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
And
Danielle? We get to vote. We vote.
I'm sorry.
Oh, we said aye.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, all right. I move to approve a 3% pay increase for the 26-27 school year for the following administrative positions: Michelle Schmidt, Carrie Houstons, Elizabeth Nielsen, Lawrence Green, Lori Baird, and Louis Gilmore.
I will second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any nays? Motion carries 5-0.
All right. My next motion is to move to approve a retroactive $200 weekly stipend for the 25-26 school year for enhanced HR responsibilities from January 1st to June 30th, and adjust Jorge Mayora's salary to $99,960 for the 26-27 school year.
I'll second.
All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. And finally, I move to adjust Ibrahim Khouri's salary for the 26-27 school year to $70,528.71 with a title change to payroll accounting specialist and a one-time stipend of $2,600 for the 25-26 school year for enhanced responsibilities.
I'll second.
All in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Any nays? Motion carries 5-0. Time is now 6:55, and I'll make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting. Seeking a second.
I'll second.
All in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Any nays? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank